Welcome to GCR for Dummies. It is May 20, 2025. Let's look at today's news from Professor William Liebenberg, prepared by Martin Stein. Please like, share and subscribe. Join our Telegram group in the comments below. Thank you. Let's go. Iraq and dinar RV. Iraqi Kurds sign billions in energy deals with U.S., despite Baghdad oil dispute. The Kurdistan regional government in northern Iraq has formalized two major energy agreements with U.S. firms in Washington, D.C., in deals valued at a combined $110 billion, despite a legal showdown with the federal government of Iraq over control of the country's oil exports. The deals were formalized during Kurdistan regional government, Prime Minister Masroor Barzani's official visit to the U.S. Washington has been advocating for the resumption of Kurdish oil exports, which have been stalled since March 2023, due to legal disputes. Washington's push aims to stabilize global oil markets and reduce Iran's influence in the region. Last week, the Association of the Petroleum Industry of Kurdistan, namely, APIKUR, called for the urgent reopening of the Iraq-Turkey pipeline, which pumped Kurdistan regional government oil to the Turkish port of Ceyhan, bypassing Baghdad and federal regulators. APIKUR spokesman Miles Kagan's, "We are urging the Iraqi Minister of Oil to convene all parties immediately, after the Arab Summit." Iraq at the crossroads, digital sovereignty, Gulf integration, and the June 15 ultimatum. Iraq stands at the brink of a political and financial transformation. Prime Minister al-Sudani has reportedly received an ultimatum from powerful regional stakeholders: implement sweeping IMF, International Monetary Fund, aligned reforms by 0615, or step down. Behind this warning lies not just political discord, but the fate of Iraq's monetary sovereignty, alignment with Iran, and the long-anticipated revaluation of the Iraqi dinar. On May 19, the Iraqi Gazette released a landmark directive announcing the implementation of digital payments and electronic signatures. The move is seen by analysts as the launch of a deeper agenda, a financial reset, aligned with IMF protocols and Gulf Cooperation Council frameworks. This infrastructure is designed to usher Iraq into a new era of transparency and regional integration. The ultimatum delivered to Sudani contains three non-negotiable demands. 1. Full implementation of IMF banking transparency measures to ensure oversight, prevent capital flight, and align with global financial standards. 2. Complete severing of covert financial ties to Iran's Revolutionary Guard, a network long accused of leveraging Iraq's banking system to circumvent sanctions. 3. Integration of Iraq's financial architecture with the Gulf Cooperation Council digital network, establishing a secure, monitored, and cooperative economic corridor that sidelines Iranian influence. Sudani's persistent resistance to these steps, particularly his opposition to revaluing the dinar, has placed him at odds with both regional and international interests. His alignment with Tehran has contributed to the intentional weakening of Iraq's currency, favoring Iran's sanction evasion strategies at the expense of Iraqi economic sovereignty. The Gazette entry is widely interpreted as Phase 1 of a monetary reset, one that quietly activates agreements forged during April's high-level Dubai meetings. This move initiates a 72-hour verification phase, after which Iraq's banking system will begin a gradual migration into the Gulf's integrated financial infrastructure. The 0615 marks the final deadline. If Sudani fails to comply, regional central banks are expected to trigger an economic isolation mechanism, a financial quarantine. This moment holds profound implications. A revalued dinar, transparently monitored, and embedded within a Gulf Cooperation Council-aligned framework, would not only revive Iraq's economy, but also reshape the region's monetary balance of power. The 9 months behind schedule delay is due to internal obstruction and hidden agendas, but many suggest that this delay may have unintentionally allowed more participants to position themselves for the currency shift, now approaching. The GCR law. The first successful time travel has shocked the world. Science has advanced 1,000 years with this invention. Light was teleported for the first time in history. We could send it to another galaxy. One cannot overstate how anyone whose invention is fresh from showing the first time machine would regard the advancement of technologies. Quantum entanglement is indeed one of those things that is difficult to get across. It refers to two, or more, particles being interdependent, no matter how far apart. When one particle is altered, the other is immediately affected, even if millions of miles of space separate the two. This is such a weird, but unquestionable fact, that no one disregards at the heart of the finding, about time travel. This is not quite how to return an actual person to the past. Still, it does mean that one can manipulate what happens in the time's precipitating history, of particle interaction based on some time, after its state. It is mind-boggling, to be able to alter decisions, or manipulate the results of events, that have already occurred, to think of the possibilities in scientific tests, future products, and inventions. The quantum breakthrough is a giant leap. Technology has advanced by 1,000 years, ahead of expectations. Even mind-boggling revolutions became possible, when approaching the quantum level of time travel for manipulation. We're discussing the advancements that could allow humanity to undertake real-time revision of errors, provide design optimization of tests, and revolutionize information technology. One of the most exciting transformations will take place in the healthcare industry. Imagine making changes in parameters after a wrong diagnosis, and reversing it, or making an operation more effective in the future. Are there situations where individuals, and authorities, should be allowed to manipulate the past? What will thinkable new regulations be like, when time is within the domestic context, a physical item that can be manipulated? The potential success indicates that time, as we in astrophysics think it is about to be reshaped. What was once considered the rigid clock, is now being transferred by physicists, to a more liquid state. Many scientific theories, that we may have taken for granted today, are thrown away, as new quantum experiments take science to untraveled frontiers. Most believe the more we learn about time travel, the more we will continue to unravel other laws of nature, that have remained unexplored for centuries. We have a Trump administration, that told you time travel is real. Q Military Intelligence Post 3555 states, time travel is fun. Or, how do you think, the Q military intelligence operation is always 2 steps ahead of the cabal, and for President Trump, who makes outrageous predictions, which eventually turn out to be 100% correct. They have seen the past, and have taken new decisions to alter the future from the past, hence the term, everything is event-driven, and not time-driven, meaning, it must play out as altered for our sure future in GESARA, and gold standard, correct? Q military intelligence repeatedly stated, future proves past, and in post 2788 specifically these words. How is it possible this Q entity can forecast future events, or know when the POTUS is about to tweet? How is it possible future proves past tree, information provided? How is it possible this Q entity, an entity who began by merely asking questions, on 4ch/8ch, was able to fill in the blank? The normal person has no idea what is unfolding. President Trump's one big beautiful bill will deliver millions of new jobs, permanent tax cuts, higher wages and take-home pay, renaissance of American energy, permanent border security, billions of dollars of investments, expanded child tax credit. Pass the bill, and let the golden age of America take off. Crocs, breakdown of the potential benefits of President Trump's one big beautiful bill for family incomes is from $0 to $300,000 annually. BRICS GCR Nations Alliance. New Africa BRICS members decry preferential treatment for South Africa. Egypt and Ethiopia blocked a BRICS declaration backing South Africa for a United Nations Security Council seat. One official's impression was that Egypt and Ethiopia wanted to move away from the old language. If this spat did nothing else, it illustrated how deeply divided African states are on this issue, of who gets those permanent seats. More on South Africa. Dr. Mario Oriani-Ambrosini wrote the following about Presidency Cyril Ramaphosa in his book. Cyril Ramaphosa told me of the ANC's 25-year strategy to deal with the whites. It would be like boiling a frog alive, which is done by raising the temperature very slowly. Being cold-blooded, the frog does not notice the slow temperature increase, but if the temperature is raised suddenly, the frog will jump out of the water. Well, with Ramaphosa's signing of the Bail Act, which threatens Afrikaans schools and, consequently, our cultural survival, he has raised the temperature very quickly. His refusal to condemn the Kill the Boer chant, along with the publication of new draconian and discriminatory racial regulations, 140+, are further signs of the hostilities shown by him, and his ANC-led government, toward Afrikaners and other minorities. AfriForum's message is clear: we will not allow ourselves to be boiled in President Ramaphosa's pot. Despite a hostile government and president, we will build a future for our children and communities ourselves, here at the southern tip of Africa. President Trump is meeting Ramaphosa tomorrow in the White House. U.S. debt. The U.S. Treasury just shocked Americans with a $258 billion surplus, its second biggest monthly surplus in history. Without years of overspending, the federal government wouldn't be sitting on trillions of dollars in debt. But, the latest monthly Treasury statement delivered a rare and welcome surprise. In April 2025, the U.S. government collected $850.2 billion in receipts, while spending $591.8 billion, resulting in a monthly budget surplus of $258.4 billion. Payment systems. Dubai just did what the rest of world only talks about. They've started tokenizing real estate on the XRP ledger. Yes, it's real. The pilot is live. And it could change everything. On March 19, 2025, Dubai Land Department launched the pilot phase of its real estate tokenization project. It's the first move of its kind in the Middle East, and it's built on blockchain. Dubai Land Department is converting title deeds into digital tokens. These are real, government-recognized ownership certificates, now on the blockchain. Its regulatory compliance meets crypto innovation. Imagine owning 5% of a luxury Dubai penthouse. That's the vision behind fractional ownership. It's not live yet, but it's part of the pilot. And when it drops, doors will open to global micro-investors. Dubai projects United Arab Emirates Dirham, $60 billion. About $16 billion in tokenized real estate by 2033. This isn't a trial. This is a transition. Tokenization is just step one. They're building the future in real time. The tokenization of real estate is no longer theoretical. Dubai's already doing it on XRP Ledger. And when fractional ownership goes live, the game changes forever. Ripple builds on Dubai regulatory license to announce Sandbank and Momo as first blockchain-enabled payments clients in the UAE. Ripple, the leading provider of digital asset infrastructure for financial institutions, today announced 2 new customers in the UAE utilizing Ripple Payments. Ripple Payments employs blockchain, digital assets, and a global network of payout partners to deliver fast, transparent, reliable cross-border payments, and on/off ramps for banks, crypto companies, and fintechs worldwide. Lots are happening in the BRICS, UAE. The Senate passed the stablecoin bill yesterday. Against all odds, the Senate's stablecoin bill has regained political momentum, passing a key procedural vote Monday evening that has set the legislation on track for passage within days. The Genius Act passed a cloture vote Monday, less than 2 weeks after failing one. The stablecoin bill now heads to a full floor vote. After 30 hours of debate, the cloture vote passed, meaning the Genius Act is now cleared for a full floor vote. Now, the bill goes before the House. It should go through the House quickly. The House spent a lot of time preparing it for the Senate to vote on. The Genius Act is likely to have a significant impact on the Forex market, but it's not directly intended to regulate it. Instead, the Genius Act focuses on establishing a framework for payment stablecoins, which are digital assets pegged to the value of a fiat currency, like the US dollar. By regulating stablecoins, the Act aims to improve stability and transparency in the financial system, which could indirectly benefit the Forex market. To summarize, it hasn't passed the Senate. It's just passed the initial stage, so it can be debated on the Senate floor. It also hasn't been sent to the House yet. There's still quite a process to go before it gets signed into law. They passed cloture, not the bill. It's a genius move to regulate the cabal geniuses. July 22nd's cutoff date is drawing closer for all cryptocurrencies regulations to be passed. Just in, Senator Bill Hagerty says, crypto stablecoin issuers will be the largest holders of U.S. Treasuries in the world. Let's swatch.
I think the majority of it will be U.S. Treasuries. In fact, what this will do, and the projections are by 2030, this is according to Citibank, stablecoin issuers will be the largest holders of U.S. Treasuries in the world.
Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell just dropped a bombshell. He's saying, the entire crypto sector is about to go full-on mainstream. XRP is ready to ride this wave to the moon. Let's swatch.
How do you see the potential for more favorable regulations coming on them and potential risks from that for the system?
You know, so we went through a wave of failures and fraud and things like that were the headlines for a couple of years. And I think what you see now is, and during that period, by the way, we worked with Congress to try to get a framework, a legal framework for stable coins, which would have been a nice place to start. We were not successful. I think that the climate is changing and you're moving into sort of more mainstreaming of that whole sector. So Congress is again looking at both the Senate and the House are looking at a framework, a legal framework for stable coins. You know, depending on what's in it, that's a good idea. We need that. There isn't one now. And stable coins are a digital product that could actually have fairly wide appeal and should contain consumer protections of the typical sorts and transparency. And that's what the Senate and the House are working on. So that's a positive thing. I also think some of the, you know, we took a pretty conservative, and other bank regulators took an even more conservative perspective on the guidance and rules we imposed on banks. I think there'll be some loosening of that, and I think we'll try to do it in a way that preserves safety and soundness, but that, you know, permits and fosters appropriate innovation, but that does so in a way that again doesn't put consumers at risk in ways they don't understand or make banks less safe and sound.
Currency wars. Trump says he's holding back on anti-Russia sanctions. There's a chance of getting something done. Warns, sanctions right now could backfire big time. Let's watch.
Why haven't you increased the sanctions on Russia yet?
Well, because I think there's a chance of getting something done. And if you do that, you can also make it much worse. But there could be a time when that's going to happen. Yeah.
Because of SWIFT and other sanctions, Russia was forced to design another cross-border payment system. This upcoming system is riddled with ripples, XRP. We all know Trump and Putin work together in the alliance. What if President Trump is again right about the West sanctions, and BRICS activates their completed cross-border payment system and obliterates the cabal's fiat petrodollar as soon as he signs the cryptocurrency's regulations into law? This will put the blame squarely on the West's leaders. Now, I want us to look at the next 4 videos. First video, financial crash incoming.
Why were Europeans suddenly told to pack emergency go bags? And why isn't anyone asking what they're really preparing for? Governments across Europe issued quiet warnings. Stock up on essentials, keep documents ready, and be prepared to leave at a moment's notice. Officially, it's just preparedness. But since when do entire nations get evacuation notices without a clear threat? Some say it's about rising tensions, war, cyber attacks, or even economic collapse. But others point to something more unsettling. Leaked documents suggest elite officials have had their own contingency plans in place for years. Underground shelters, off-grid retreats, and private security forces. They aren't just planning for an emergency. They're planning to survive something the rest of us aren't supposed to see coming. And here's the strangest part. Similar warnings went out before major global events. 2008's financial crash, the 2020 pandemic. Are we on the verge of another crisis? And if so, what do they know that we don't? You be the judge. Don't forget to follow and keep our content alive.
Second video, Project Odin.
Vladimir Putin could reportedly spark worldwide blackouts as NATO issues a chilling warning. The bosses of firms such as Vodafone and Orange have written an open letter to the UK, EU and NATO warning that defenceless undersea cables which carry essential data can easily be distorted or disrupted by Russia after a series of attacks. NATO believes the Kremlin could deploy a new weapon which would spark worldwide blackouts by sabotaging the undersea cables. Around 95% of the data transmitted across the world is carried on more than 500 cables that crisscross the seabed. In recent months, there have been a number of attacks already on the vital links. These attacks have been condemned by world leaders who blame them on Putin.
Third video, Project Odin.
So Europe is getting ready for war and it wants its citizens to prepare too. Brussels has issued guidelines for all 450 million Europeans. 450 million people across all 27 member states. Every household has been asked to maintain a survival kit. to stock up on things like bottled water, canned food, a torch, and basic supplies like toilet paper. This stock should last for at least 3 days. That is the instruction. It is part of a new European strategy for preparedness. Is Europe really heading into a war, or is this just fear-mongering? Stockpiling of critical supplies and turning basements into bunkers is not normal. People do this when a war looms. Governments are supposed to protect their people to keep them safe from harm. Instead, the EU is handing out an instruction manual with doomsday predictions, telling Europeans how to survive on their own for 72 hours when crisis hits. This is not insurance. This is leaving people to fend for themselves.
Last video, 7 Kingdoms.
Why does Donald Trump keep delaying his so-called big announcement, and what could it be? Some insiders say it's more than campaign strategy. It's geopolitical shock therapy. For months, whispers have echoed through back channels and fringe forums. Trump's delayed reveal isn't about 2024, it's about Canada. That's right. Rumor has it Trump's big play is to announce a plan that would make Canada the 51st state. It sounds absurd until you look closer. Documents leaked from obscure policy think tanks suggest economic frameworks are already being drafted. Oil pipelines, trade harmonization, military integration, all quietly restructured in preparation. And let's not forget the recent surge in cross-border political alignment, especially in Alberta and Saskatchewan, where some leaders are openly praising U.S. governance models. But why now? With America fractured and Canada grappling with internal dissent, is this the perfect storm? Some speculate this move would create a North American superstate, consolidating power under a single ideology with Trump at the helm. Or is it just another distraction from deeper moves happening behind the curtain? What is Trump really waiting to announce? And could it be that Canada's flag is the next to hang beside Old Glory? If you're awake, you already know what to do. Hit the link in our bio, stay safe and stay informed.
That sums up your Tuesday news. Thank you for watching. See you tomorrow.